Dave Aiken, and you're watching Public Affairs. I tell you what, I got some friends here that's going to tell us a little bit about Field Day. Goodness, right? When we say Field Day, what does Field Day mean to you?
Well, it's a three-legged thing. It's a test of our emergency preparedness. It's also a social event, and we throw in a little training with it. We have to do something to eat up that 24 hours.
Well, I'll tell you what. Now, unless you have not figured it out yet, ham radio operator W1HAT and ham radio operator, Don, what's that call sign?
KD8, BKT, or Bravo Kilo Tango.
Yes. And this is Mike Floyd. And Mike, well, what do you normally say yours as phonetically?
Do what now?
No, go ahead. When they holler at you and they give your call sign, they also give you a nickname. What do they do for that?
Well, I am the weather hat.
The weather hat, okay.
Daily, I put out the weather on our repeater system here in town.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of the weatherman for the Marion Amateur Radio Club.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I am KB8CLY, and Ron Williams tagged me with the Clean Living Yankee. I don't know, goodness. But I tell you, I'm right at home with you today. I know what you're doing, and I'm tickled to death to have you here on Public Affairs. Field Day. The first Field Day thing I went to, it was really, really hot. It was miserable, but buddy, did we have fun, right?
That's what we try to do. We try to have as much fun as we can have and still do the job.
Yes. And okay, where are you gonna set up for Field Day?
Our Field Day this year will be set up at the First Consolidated Fire Station 3, which is located at Pole Lane and 309.
Okay, all right. Now, somebody said, well, that's not out in the middle of nowhere. There's certain rules for Field Day. For Field Day, you have to run without commercial power. So, because, this is an emergency preparedness event. So, you're going to, what bands are you going to be working out there?
We're going to work them all.
All of them? Oh, goodness.
We're going to work all the HF bands, 40 meter, 20, 75, 80, anything that we can get an antenna to work on, that's what we're going to work.
Oh, goodness. Some of the antennas that show up at Field Day. It's been a while since I've been to one. Does the Slinky still show up out there?
This year we're doing a little thing called, we're just doing some wacky antennas. We have a full set of bed springs that are all rusted, that was pulled off a junk pile. I've personally talked to some hands in Madison, Wisconsin, on 80 meters on that set of
the bed springs. Yeah, tearing that thing up and get
just hanging in a tree.
And what amazed me was the Slinky antenna, because they would just pull it out, and for some reason. A lot of frequencies, the thing will resonate at multiple frequencies, and that fascinated me, because I have spent hours before trying to make an antenna work.
Well, it's amazing what you can get to work. I was saying that Mike lived in a place that wouldn't allow antennas, so he hooked one wire up to the ground on the air conditioner and the other one was to the gutter of the house, and talked all over the world.
See? Now, in an emergency, okay. There's been talk about our grid. Our electrical grid is not very secure right now, and there's been a lot of worry that it could go down. If it goes down, the communications from areas will be handled, what was it I heard a couple days ago? They've been having multiple earthquakes in this one area, and they said, we think we're going to have a big one out here. And nobody had ever thought about an earthquake there.
Well, ham radios, we do what we call a Field Day, is an actual once-a-year event to practice for an emergency situation. That's what it really is. Although we do have a lot of fun and a lot of good food, but that's the sole reason for it. And it's not just Marion. This is all over the United States.
All over the world, all over the U.S. Yeah. Well, now, when Katrina the hurricane went through. The cell phone towers were down. The cables down. The electric down. Everything down. No communications. And the ham radio operators had communications out of the areas.
Yes, sir. We had a couple of our local hams go down and help out. But the neat thing was the coordination center for that, for ham radio, was, I believe, Denver.
Okay.
Because there was no short range. The hams repeaters were down as well. Mm-hmm. So they had to rely on high frequency. So they would relay out to where we could get a good signal in, and then they would radio back on high frequency. So, during the 9/11, all New York's communications
Right.
virtually
Fire
went out.
departments were down. Yes.
Now, there are two ways that we can communicate locally, and one of them is what we call simplex. That's just line of sight, like the CPs
Right,
are,
right.
which does very well in this area. And the other is called a repeater system. If you can get to the tower where the repeater is, you can take 5-watt radio,
Yep.
and all we have to do from here would be to get to the tower out back of the station, and it's at 180 feet on 35 watts, so we can broadcast out over 50 miles with a little 5-watt handheld radio.
Let me tell you, Don, that antenna is a little higher than that. That antenna is setting at 300 foot.
I didn't think,
Yeah,
realize
yeah.
ours was that high.
Yes, the ham radio repeater antenna is setting at 300 foot.
Wow.
If you'll look, when you drive by the TV station, and you look up there on the west, okay, no. Okay, on the north leg, you'll see one white antenna going up. That's ham radio repeater. How far does that thing get out?
Long ways.
We can get Columbus.
Hit Columbus with 35 watts.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, so now you're going to work all the bands. Anybody going to do CW this year?
Oh
Yes.
yes. We have a couple good CW operators.
Oh goodness, who's going to operate CW?
Well, the fellow that does the best is Bill Finnegan. And
Oh,
he is
yeah.
our projector.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how many countries he's contacted with what they call QRP.
Yep.
With a tenth of a watt, several
One-
thousand miles with one
Wait.
tenth of a watt.
Now, did you catch what he just said? 1/10 of 1 watt. And Bill's a judge. William Finnegan, we all call him Bill. I don't mind meeting him in the ham radio clubs, but I don't want to go before him professionally.
We have another operator, Lynn Lovell, who is
Yeah,
an emergency
yeah,
coordinator,
Lynn.
and they try to outdo each other sometimes of who can use the least wattage and get the furthest.
Yeah, I know.
Bill's not even beat.
that Lynn's a character, isn't he? He's a character. Now it's probably been 12 years since I've done any CW. I'm not so sure I can still remember it.
It's like riding a bicycle.
Like riding a bicycle, yeah.
But
You know, for years. Now I had commercial license, but for years I didn't have a ham radio license because of the code. And finally I decided that I was going to learn the code. My wife said there have been several things in marriage that were kind of rough. She said when I was trying to learn the Morse code, she said that was the roughest. So she was tickled to death when I passed and got my license. All right?
But that is no longer required
I know
to
it.
get a license. And Dave, I might say that with your assistance of this facility, there have probably been in the last few years at least 50 hams that have taken their test in this building and passed their test.
Yeah, twice a year. Is it twice a year or 4 times a year?
4.
4 times a year, they give the test in the back room here. And yes, start studying, get your ham radio license. You don't have to know the code. I'm going to tell you, it was rough learning the code. It was definitely rough. But that is no longer required for any class of license, okay? But I was proud of myself because I had a first class FCC license which the government decided to change over to a general radio telephone license. And I had that back years ago. That was the top thing that you could get, and I had the commercial license, but I didn't have my ham license. And then finally, I got that ham license and had a lot of fun with the ham bands.
Well, the ham radio can be like any other hobby. It can be serious or it can be a hobby. And it can also be expensive or it could be reasonable depending on what type of equipment you want to use. Now, a lot of your newer people start out with just a handheld radio.
Right.
And now they have some pretty expensive ones, inexpensive at $100 range, and you can start out that way. And then we have other people who have maybe $3,000 or $4,000 in a radio at home on their desk.
Yeah. One time the hams used to build equipment, that you build your own and get on the air with it, and then you had bragging rights.
Almost everybody that I know that is a ham operator that have been for years and years built their own rigs to start with.
Very good. Very good.
My father passed away several years ago, and he was an old ham. His nickname was Spark Gap.
Yeah.
That takes you back to the days of the Titanic. And he used to be able to sit and watch a ball game, copy code, and talk to you, and keep up all three. And I said, what are they saying on the radio? Oh, he's just saying that it's raining in Washington State and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, when he passed away, none of my brothers and sisters knew anything about his shop. So I was elected to go in, and I found his transmitter, and I found the coil. He got in a little trouble. He got off band, and he knocked KDKA off the air. And the FCC's still looking for him. And he hid everything, and I found it. So I heard that story growing up, and sure enough, we found the parts.
We have a truck driver in our group that has a Morse code key strapped on his leg, and he can do the Morse code while he's driving, while it's tapped to his leg.
Oh my, goodness gracious. Now, something else with the Morse code, there were some people that were fairly easy to copy, and some of them that I just couldn't copy at all.
I think they call it having a good fizz.
A good fizz and having a bad fizz. Oh man, one time there was one fella, he was really good, and I was getting along real good, talking to him on Morse code. He kept telling me that he had to go. He had another appointment, but I was having so much fun because he was so easy to copy, and man, we were cruising along there, and I sure hated to see him go. And then the next one, I couldn't figure out what in the world he did. Oh, goodness. All right.
Well, ham radio is a lot of fun, and we encourage everybody we can to get involved. We do have a once a year, Mr. Finnegan has a class. He has one for the first grade license, which is technician, and then for the next class he teaches for later in the year is for the general class license.
Very good.
So we have licensed a lot of people through Marion through these classes.
Very good. Very good.
And field day is our chance for everybody to get on and practice. We also have a lot of fun for our field day. We have good food as well. And we're encouraging the public to come out and see what's going on. We have a station called Go To that they can get on the radio and get on the air and talk, whether they have a license or not, because there'll be an operator with them, and they can talk wherever that particular day is working good around the world. So we encourage people to stop by and see what we're doing and see how we can set up an emergency operation.
Very good.
One of the beauties of ham radio is the fact that you meet people from all different walks of life. And we happen to be blessed with a pretty good cook, Mike Mastro, cooks our food for field day, so we're really pleased to
Is
have
Mike
him.
a ham?
General.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, goodness. I did not know that. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, one other thing I wanted to say to you, and before I get this off my mind, in the military, the radio operators. They had sent CW, and what fascinated me was that in some places where the operators were sending messages between each other every day, and they were really familiar with them, they had what they called a bebop code. Have you ever heard that?
No,
They were, it was Morse code, but they had another rhythm in with it.
Well, I've often been told that Morse code is a rhythm. There's a rhythm to it, and if you're a musician, it's easier to get the Morse code.
Yeah.
Understand the rhythm.
But they said that some of the operators, although they were sending stuff in the clear, they said it was extremely hard for anybody that didn't know the bebop thing to go with it. It was hard for them to pull it out. But I watched some of the operators running that, and oh goodness, like you say, they can sit there and talk to you. They pass on the messages, everything going on, and yeah, that was really something.
I'm never that comfortable with CW.
Oh, I wasn't either.
Takes my full attention.
Well, I'm not. I don't do Morse code either, and I was glad that you didn't have to get a license. But I've been a ham for about 6 years, and I really enjoyed it. And I've gotten involved in both the hobby side of it plus the emergency side of it, being assistant emergency coordinator for Marion, and that's kind of a different group. You have the same people, but the emergency coordinator group is we're the people that will be called upon if something happens.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, show me. We got 11 minutes, Sheriff. I'm just enjoying talking with you. I guess I should be more professional than this, but man, get with the friends and talk about this. There is nothing like field day. You get out there, stay up all night, talk and drink coffee, and just have a wonderful time out there. And who's cooking this year?
Well,
Mike Mastro.
Mike Mastro's
Mike
bring
is fixing
breakfast.
the main meal for
Yeah,
supper time. But we have some other people who are fixing, like for our breakfast, the bacon and the eggs and the salt.
Yeah, but if you're going to stay up all night, you're going to eat all night.
Well, you got to sleep sometime. You have to take a break.
I know. I don't remember ever sleeping on field day.
Now we have cookies and we have cakes and we have the snacks. We do not go hungry at field day. It's like a family picnic. People, everybody brings in something. It's just like a 24-hour picnic as well as a radio operation.
Yes. Now, you are welcome. You that are watching today, you're welcome to come out there because you like to have people come and see how it works, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We encourage people to stop by.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always little problems to overcome. We used to have problems with generators. Generators drop off. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, what can go wrong will go wrong. And some of those antennas that were tested and everything checked out perfect, and it's all carefully packed away. Then you pull it out and it won't load up. Huh.
Well, we are allowed to start setting up Friday afternoon.
Okay.
So we will be setting up just after 12 o'clock Friday, and then we have 24 hours to transmit. And you accumulate points as far as how you're set up, as far as how many contacts you make, and whether you have a public official come out or whether you have people on the go-to stations. And Delaware County has beat us out for the last several years. They have a pretty big group. But I think a few years ago in our category, I think we come in 4th or 5th in our category.
That's good.
Which was really good. And we are usually like what they call an Alpha 4 station. In other words, we have 4 operators on generator backup power. And some stations we have talked to that are like Alpha 12s. They have 12 stations or 12 operators.
Good.
Then you have people who may be just operating from home, and I think it's a 1H they're called. So when you make your contact, you have to tell them what you are so they can log this in their computer. So you're liable to hear anything come across as far as from 1 to 12 people on their stations.
Now, for field day, what call sign are you going to use?
Whiskey 8 Golf Victor Bravo. That is the club call sign.
Yes. Boy, they've had that call for a long time.
Yeah.
That call was originated, I think we discovered in 1939 or something
Somewhere
like
back
that.
in there,
That's
yeah.
where the oldest copy of a license we can find. I think, I could be wrong, but it's that old.
Whiskey 8 Golf Victor Bravo.
I have that after field day, you could put out so many calls so many times.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah, use
I'm
your
gonna
own
answer
call.
my own mic is Whiskey 8 Golf Victor Bravo.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Oh goodness, there's nothing like getting on there and calling CQ and get somebody coming back.
And you know, the way to really get people to come back at you is to put one of the females on, or a kid with a younger voice.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, they'll come from all over. It's like the old CB days. They'll yell back at a female for anybody else. So we have sometimes pre-recorded CQ Whiskey 8 Golf Victor Bravo in a female's voice.
Oh.
See, then when they
Yeah.
come back and they say, well, where's she at? Well, she was on recording.
It's not available.
Oh, goodness gracious. I tell you, and, you know, you're sitting there, especially CW, and they send out that call, you know, send out CQ and everything. And then I remember I'm thinking who was it that made up a box that would automatically send the call in CW. So all they had to do is wait till it did that and then add in, you know, if they had contacts.
Well, nowadays with the digital communication stuff we have, you can carry on a conversation and never say a word or type a key. You can type it onto your laptop and push a button and it automatically sends it out, even if you don't know Morse code.
Oh, goodness. Lots of ways to communicate.
And it's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
And what the things that are nice is, like, I talked to a fella in New York one time on a Easter Sunday, and I just somehow remembered his call. I ran into him with that call on his hat at Dayton Field Day.
Oh my!
So-
Did you make it to Dayton this year?
Yes, I did.
Only about 40,000 hams show up down there.
From around the world.
And around the world. Now, when I tell you that some of them charter a jet liner to fly into Dayton, they're still doing that, aren't they? From a bunch of them from Japan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great Britain and just
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And they have to be careful what they buy because they can't take it back on the bus or on the plane. But there is a UPS station there
Right there
at
on the-
Dayton Field
yeah.
Day to ship your merchandise home for you.
I tell you, Dayton, the Ham Fest is something. I used to go down there to buy equipment for the TV stations. And I was down there one time and I saw this automated system that I really wanted. Okay? And the people had brought it up there and they were getting close to the end of the Ham Fest and they hadn't sold it. And this thing is huge. Okay? It used the old 3/4 inch decks for broadcast and automated system. A video jukebox is what I want to call this. And so I'd gone by there several times. Boy, I'd like to have that, but man, I wouldn't be able to afford that. And that fellow was getting kind of worried that he was going to take it back, and I didn't know how I'd get the thing home. And I just, he said, you need to buy this off of me. I said, well, I'll give you $15 for it, because it was about $1,500, you know, to buy that thing. He laughed, and he laughed, and he laughed, because I told him we built, you know, Christian television stations back here. He laughed and laughed and laughed. He said, preacher, how you going to get that home? And here I am with this huge, huge video jukebox. And I go pushing it, you know, stands about that high. And I go pushing it through the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
And there was a fellow stopped me and he said, I like that piece of equipment. And I said, yeah, and they had a TV station down in North Carolina. And we talked for a minute and he said, you know, I sure would like to see your TV station. I said, well, I'm going to head back there from here. He said, I'll tell you what, I will haul that back to your station if you'll give me a tour and show us all the tricks you did. Man, I tell you,
We have the same thing. We have people like from Marion. I usually get there in the flea market area and have my truck, and we'll have people buy stuff and carrying it around.
Yeah.
And I say, just put it in the truck, and I'll see that it gets back home for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, being a ham operator is a lot of fun, isn't it, Mike?
Yes, sir. Again, you can go anywhere in the world, and if you find another ham, you have a friend.
Yes, anywhere.
And we'll help
Up
one
in
another.
Canada, a lot of the Canadian hams. Now, one of the best things, one of my favorite contacts is one night I talked to, or one day just before noon, I talked to Tomorrow. I got on there and sent out a call, and a fella came back to me from Australia. And he was a day different than I was. Okay, so I was talking to Tomorrow, and I found out. I asked him what he did and everything, and he said he was a farmer, and he said he had just come in to have lunch, and he had to get back out in the fields, but he wanted to see if the band was open, and it was. Had a good time. Kids, what's your favorite contact?
I probably was happiest, even though it's in the United States, is California, because it was hard for me to get, and finally one time the conditions were right, and within 3 days I got into California 5 times.
Oh my, okay. What band?
40 meters.
40 meters, okay. Mike, what's your favorite band?
Well, I got a hold of the outfit that does the Titanic. It was the followers of it from England. And I just happened to catch them on 20 meters. And it was an afternoon, and I got right through. And Lynn Lovell tried for the whole rest of the weekend and never got through.
Oh goodness! So you had to grind it in, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
Oh goodness!
It's not unusual if the bands are up and they're hot for people to get on and say, hey, 20 meters is open. Hey, 10 meters is open. So
6 meters.
Yep. So everybody.
Hey, I got
Magic
6
man.
meters open.
Yep.
Yeah, and buddy, when 6 meters closes, it closes.
Yes, sir.
Same as 10 meter. It's
Yep.
either open or it's shut.
Yep. Oh goodness, you have a lot of fun there. Now, what bands did you say you're going to operate out there at Field Day?
We will actually operate on about everything. That's why we will have 4 stations, and some of them are going to work like 20 and 40, and others maybe 80, 120. We're set up so each station maybe will have 2 bands, because one works better in the daytime and one works better in the nighttime.
Yes.
So that's how we're set up.
Yes, very good, very good. Okay, we've got about, oh goodness, where'd the time go? I got 45 seconds. What do you want to say?
Thanks for having us in, and I hope to see a lot of people come out and visit us at Field Day.
Well, thank you for coming, and I'm planning on being out there.
Good.
I planned on coming out there and be there with you a little bit. Get on the band a little bit.
Dave, there'll be plenty of opportunities.
Oh,
if you
goodness.
stop by, we'll make sure that you can talk to somebody somewhere from one of our radios.
Maybe across the street. Okay, all right. On behalf of the Central Ohio Association of Christian Broadcasters, I'm Dave Aiken. You all head out to Field Day, okay? Coming up the 28th, corner of 309 and Pole Lane.